What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. The day before the draft kicks off, we are just a little bit more than 24 hours away from starting to figure out what players are going to go to what teams in the draft. It's a very exciting time, and we've spent a metric ton of time over the last couple of months talking about what the Seahawks are going to do, but we really haven't spent a lot of time talking about what other teams are going to do, and that makes sense. This is a Seahawks channel. But there is something to be said for the idea of at least discussing what certain division rivals are going to do. So let's take a video here with just one day to go and do a little bit of a deep dive into what our division rivals are likely to do in this draft. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. More on them a little bit later. And obviously, we got three division rivals, three teams in very different situations. And some of these teams have a relatively simple path or decision tree ahead of them, and others have a very complicated one. And it really just kind of depends on where the teams pick, right? Because we're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals here. We're going to talk about them for a minute. I know they're the least interesting of our three division rivals, but they are the team that picks first by a long shot. And because they're picking so early, they have a very good idea of what's going to be there when their pick comes up. So let's start with the Arizona Cardinals here. I got this ESPN article pulled up that has betting odds for each pick in the top 10. So the Cardinals are reflected here, and you can see that according to this chart, we know Mendoza is going to be gone at pick 1. We know that he's going to the Raiders. There's no mystery there. And the decision tree that is going to kind of cascade down is the New York Jets. What the New York Jets do is going to probably decide what the Cardinals do. The Jets are choosing between David Bailey, the edge rusher from Tech, and then you've got Arvell Reese, the edge rusher slash linebacker from Ohio State. And it seems like, although it's not, I don't want to say it's definite, whoever the Jets don't pick out of that list of two players, the Cardinals will take. So right now, the most likely second overall pick is David Bailey, according to the odds. Now, it's very close between him and Reese, but right now, David Bailey is a decent sized favorite. So that seems to be where people are leaning. And that would mean the Cardinals get Arvell Reese. And if things flip, if the Jets take Reese, then the Cardinals are very likely to take David Bailey. Now, I am definitely not a fan of the Cardinals getting Reese, because to me, he is the best player in this draft overall. I think he is the number one. Obviously, he's not going to go number one because the Raiders need a quarterback, and there is a good quarterback in this draft. But I would not be thrilled if the Cardinals got the guy that I view as being the number one overall prospect. So I'm hoping it doesn't go that way, because I would be forced to tip my cap to the Cardinals and say they did a great job. Now, if they get David Bailey's flawed. He has issues that I'm concerned about. I don't view him as a traditional edge one in this draft. But at the same time, I do think he is very good. I just don't think he's as good as Reese. So if Bailey goes there, then, that kind of seems a little more typical. Do you like sports? If you do, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. I've had a great time using Prize Picks so far. It makes this daily fantasy thing so easy and fun, and it even makes watching the games way more exciting. And with the cool social feeds feature, you can share lineups with your friends and even follow partners to tail or fade their picks. Obviously, we're in the NFL offseason right now, but we've got basketball, baseball, hockey, all kinds of other stuff, so don't be afraid to test things out in whatever sport clicks with you. You can even pick multiple sports in the same lineup and sweat everything at once. And don't forget about team picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So, Download Prize Picks, America's #1 sports app. And don't forget, code HMA, that is HMA, gives you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. Now, there is a third option for the Cardinals with Jeremiah Love. There is some buzz that they might go Jeremiah Love here, either way, because Love is obviously going to be on the board at pick 3. So the Cardinals could just take the top running back off the board and feel good about that, I suppose, which that's a little bit more complicated, right? Because on the one hand, yes, it is a running back, but it is a very good one. And it is one that I would personally view as being, I I would say worth the pick, or at least close to worth the pick. That's not something that I would make fun of the Cardinals for. That's something I would say, hey, it's a running back, there's a risk, but at the same time, I think he's going to be very, very, very good. There's not really anybody else worth talking about for the Cardinals here. Maybe Maui Goa, but I don't see that. The curveball, the big curveball would be Ty Simpson, but it seems like the Cardinals have kind of figured out that there's no universe where Ty Simpson is worthy of the #3 pick. So I don't think that's going to happen. So it looks like it's going to be either Reese or Bailey, with Jeremiah Love as kind of like your third option. All right, so then you've got the Rams, and the Rams do not have their native pick anymore. They have the pick they got from the Falcons instead, which is at 13th overall. And a couple of considerations here. So let's take a look at this article from the Rams Wire, where they list out the odds given by you can see they put it a chart via ESPN Analytics of the most likely players for the Rams to take at 13. And as you can see, the decision tree is much broader because there are so many more players that may or may not be there when the pick comes up for the Rams. So right now, the clubhouse leader is Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle from Utah. Good player. Would be more or less worth the pick at 13, I believe, right around there. And then you've got Makai Lemon, who I'd say is probably worth about a middle first round pick as well. It is kind of interesting, though, that a team that is pretty loaded at receiver with Puka and Devontae Adams might take another receiver in the first round, but there is buzz around that, and it, on some level, does make a little bit of sense that they're looking to supercharge their receiver core for what is very clearly a go for broke year. Like, if the Rams do not win the Super Bowl this upcoming year, then it's a failure. There's no consolation prize. There's no middle ground here. Either they win it all or it feels like a complete loss because the clock is ticking. So Fano is the favorite, and I see why that might be, but my question is, does Fano start day 1? Right? Does Fano or Fano, I don't know how to pronounce it, does he help the team improve immediately the moment he gets there, or at the very least at some point during his rookie year? Like a guy like Makai Lemon would, because he would get on the field. You got Jermon McCoy here at #3, and I mean that I know they just got a couple of starting corners at this point already, but I would not blame them for taking McCoy at all. McCoy would probably help them as a rookie, but guys like Freeling or Fano or Caden Proctor, a little bit tougher, because if they don't see the field, they're not going to really help you win right now. And then you got Jordan Tyson thrown in here as well. He's another guy that would get on the field for that rookie year and help the team win a lot. And then you got a bunch of long shots here. I'm not really going to get into all this. This is stuff that's not going to happen, but you kind of got a nice little top 6 here. Maybe you shave off Proctor because he's not going to be there. However, Dov Kleiman has this tweet here, and I've heard the original source here is Albert Breer, to be clear, so this is credible. The Rams are potentially looking at trading up from pick 13, and if they do, it's believed that Jordan Tyson could be their target, the wide receiver. And I get why the Rams would want to trade up, because again, this is a go for it year for them. And beyond that, this is a draft where there are probably about 10 true first round caliber players. So in a way, picking at 13 is kind of tragic, because you almost certainly just barely miss out on the true blue chippers. You trade up a little bit, you can get one of those blue chippers. Like a guy like Kenyon Sadiq. I I think the Rams would really like to have a guy like that, but I think they're also sitting there thinking he's probably not going to be there at 13. But if they could trade up to 10 and get him, I think that's something that would be pretty scary in that offense. A guy like Delane, the LSU corner, who is probably the top corner in this draft, that would make that secondary really fearsome with the guys they got this offseason. Or imagine if they traded up enough to get Carnell Tate and just got the best receiver in this class like that. It would be very intimidating. So if the Rams do trade up, they're probably going to have to give up some pretty decent stuff back. They're probably going to have to give up some later picks, but this is the kind of move that makes sense for a team that is in the situation that the Rams are currently in. So I look for them to at least move on that possibility. Maybe it doesn't happen, but overall, I think this provides a pretty decent picture of what we're actually looking at for their selection. And I feel like they're going to go receiver. I feel like that's just the way they're going to be looking at things. So that's my read, but odds-wise, Fano seems to be a clubhouse favorite. All right, one last division rival that we want to spend a little bit of time on, the San Francisco 49ers, and it's really tough for them. It is really tough for them because they pick so late, you don't know what's going to be there. Now, this NBC Sports article goes through the odds, and they give the 49ers Caleb Lomu, the other Utah offensive lineman. So we might have both starting Utah tackles in the division after this draft, after the first day of this draft, actually. So Caleb Lomu of Utah, he is obviously not of the caliber of a Spencer Fano, but he is still viewed as a rough first rounder, roughly around the back end of the first, so the value would be there. And the reason why they do this is obvious. The Niners have really kind of neglected, excuse me, have neglected their offensive line in recent years. Now, what I would push back on here would be the idea that they're going to do this in a year where they're clearly going to go for it. And like the Rams, this is going to be a year where the Niners feel like we really need to do whatever it takes to make sure we win it all. Kittle, we're hoping he has a year left. McCaffrey, we're hoping he has a year left. Trent Williams, we're hoping he has a year left, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And with Trent Williams back in the fold, and obviously they're hoping he can still play at an elite level, I don't know if Lomu is really the guy you want to go for. I know you could play him on the other side and it would probably be fine, but I also kind of feel like you know that your scheme with Shanahan allows you to get away with having not great offensive linemen on your team. So why wouldn't you get something that would actually try to push you over the edge a little bit, especially when you look at some of the deficiencies on other parts of that team? Like, I get the Caleb Lomu pick, but to me, the name to watch really is Malachi Lawrence. There's been some buzz that they're going to take him at 27 or maybe trade back a little bit and get him. Malachi Lawrence, I don't view him as a first round caliber player, but he's close and the upside is there. There's just downside as well. There's things to be concerned about with Lawrence. But when I look at Malachi Lawrence, I do see a guy that could be an impactful rookie, at least somewhat. I know edge rushers usually are not, but he could be pretty good and has upside to be a very good player in this league. He's not a low ceiling guy. And I do think that if the pick comes up and the Niners decide they want more of a pure pass rusher rather than somebody like a Zion Young or even maybe a TJ Parker if he's available, then Malachi Lawrence with his incredible testing is going to be a likely favorite. So I could see the 49ers doing Lomu, but I get the sense they're going to go Malachi Lawrence or an equivalent edge rusher. And the article does point out that receiver is also in play, but I don't know. I I don't know who it would be, like KC Concepcion. That just doesn't feel right to me. That doesn't feel like a first round receiver. I mean, this is the team that took Ricky Pearsall in the first round one time, so it's not like they would never do it, but I don't know, man. I don't know about receiver. Obviously, the dream for them would be Sadiq falling that far, but I don't think there's any way that happens, so I'm not going to get into that. But yeah. So that's what's going on in the division. Let me know what you guys think. Looks like the Cardinals are probably going to get one of the top edge rushers, either Bailey or Reese. Right now, it looks like Reese. Rams, they're saying an offensive lineman. And the 49ers, they're saying an offensive lineman. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Going to post another video later. Let me know what you think.